Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
It is time for our Outdoor Tidbits with Mr. Jake Bolks, Conservation Warden for the state of Wisconsin. Jake, we're in November now, man. Blaze orange season's nearly upon us. Good morning, bud. How you doing?
Morning, doing great. It is that time of year.
Yeah, no kidding, man. So, well, let's just jump right into it. We've had a few people actually ask about this, and this is what I sent you a little bit earlier, but there was an article on the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel from about potential changes to some deer units and such. And I know it's still in their early phases, and I know you're not. It's kind of the not really political the right way to say it, Jake, or kind of outside your wheelhouse a little bit, but at the same time,
just a different program.
Yeah, different program sort of thing there. So I know you're probably going to get a lot of questions about it too, but did you have a chance to kind of take a look at it a little bit?
Yeah, I'd heard of it potentially happening and such, and yeah, I mean, it's good to see that they kind of put a report on it and whatnot. And if anyone doesn't know exactly what you're saying, they're talking about the GMUs with the deer hunting season in 2025. So the important thing about when you look at deer hunting is that you really have to just focus on what the rules are, like this year or the year that you're hunting. So it's really cool to see that potentially they're looking at, changing something up to give more opportunity or to make it more, aligned with what people are seeing out in the woods and fields and when they're out hunting. But something just important to note is if anything does switch, it would be for next year. This year for 2024, we're already deep into the archery season, but with the archery season, the gun deer season coming up, nothing has changed too much. It's, a lot of buck only areas unless you get bonus antlerless deer, and it's county by county right now. So you really want to focus on this year before changing any of your hunting behaviors.
I was just reading a little bit of it too. It almost sounds like I remember a while ago when it was, we had the units like 26, 24, and something similar to this, but different numbered units, it kind of seems like. Yeah,
and you mentioned it well. So this, I saw that Jeff Pritzel is the one that's kind of the spokesperson for this. He's one of our, deer guys. This is in the wildlife division. So we have say, or they work with our division of law enforcement throughout these processes, but the deer management and habitat management and different stuff is all through them, so we don't have a ton of info in it. But I guess it's just we don't have a ton, but we're out there helping enforce it.
Mm-hmm. Jake, too, obviously, the rut's kind of going on or just picking up where, depending on where people are starting to hunt and such. And what's been like the baiting situation in certain areas for you? Have you noticed an uptick in that recently?
Yeah, it's that time of year. Everyone's out, whether if you're out rut hunting now or getting ready, it's a really good time to get out and check your deer stands and make sure everything's, still up if you haven't been in the woods, the tree hasn't fallen and whatnot. So we are seeing people that are going out and getting ready for the deer season, and they're also putting out some bait, whether legal or illegal. So you got to be mindful. It seems like we've talked with a lot of people lately, especially in this part of the state, where they're baiting a lot, even if you can bait, and they're using gravity feeders. So as a reminder, even though you go to Fleet Farm or whatever store and there's gravity feeders for sale, it doesn't mean they're legal for deer hunting. So for deer hunting, you can't use any sort of mechanical or gravity-fed like deer baiting or deer feeding devices year-round. And then most counties are no-bait counties, so zero bait, zero feed. Clark County did open up this year, so Clark County reopened to baiting, so you can bait if you hunt in Clark County, but it's 2 gallons per person per 40 acres. So when you're hunting your spot in the county forest or on private land, you can only have 2 gallons at any one time.
Good note there too. So we got another text that just kind of came in. Can you reiterate the law for a pop-up ground blind using on the public land? How long can they stay on public land? Do you have to take down every evening? Can you leave up, but for how many days? Orange on top of the blind, correct?
So the blind law applies to state land. So on county lands, you don't necessarily have to follow the blaze orange or blaze pink requirements. If you're on any state land, the top of your blind, or it's 144 square inches, has to be blaze pink or orange. But if you're on private land, you don't have to have that requirement. And county lands, some county lands allow you to have them on there. Some have their own rules that require it. Some don't allow you to use them or don't need you to have them. So the big distinction between a lot of like the trail cameras and deer stands and ground blinds and closed areas versus open areas to hunt is a lot of our regulations when it comes to equipment are state, like are based on like if you're hunting state properties, state wildlife areas, state fishery areas, stuff like that. When it comes to like what zones and stuff, that's more of a statewide and can you shoot a doe or whatnot, and we enforce that statewide. But when it comes to equipment use like that, you really want to check with the county or go to the county's website and make sure that there's no special regulations that they ask you to do on county properties, because they have ordinances for some of that kind of stuff.
Good note too. Yeah, I think that's a good point too, Jake. And I know we've kind of talked about that with fishing too. There's just outside the DNR stuff, there's potentially county rules and ordinances too. Yeah.
So I get a lot of questions right now, a lot of calls, and I like that. So if you have calls, questions, feel free to give me a call. But when it comes to county land, we just basically enforce that you're hunting during open season, baiting, that you're shooting the right deer at the right time, stuff like that. But a lot of those county lands, like you said, or even some city lands, they might have their own ordinances or rules where you have to be this or you can't have stands, or there are a lot of counties that actually allow you to leave your stands out there overnight and different stuff like that. So just really make sure you know what property you're hunting on, who owns it, and what you can and can't do. And I really encourage it. I see it a lot. I see a lot of really, really good sportsmen and women out there reading the rigs. They know what they're doing. They know it all. They know the job maybe better than I do, or the rigs maybe better than I do. But there are a fair amount of people that I don't think they've opened up a regulations book in 10 years, and in the last 10 years, a lot has changed. So I really encourage people to get out there and drink some coffee or drink a beer at night and go through that regulations pamphlet.
Jake, I wanted to kind of maybe recap like albino deer, because, well, I see them quite a bit on our field, on our land. Actually, last week, Friday, when I was going out, there was 3 of them just bedded down, laying down. They were letting me walk back and forth out there. But, obviously they're really cool, and, people may be kind of looking, okay, is there a brown spot or is there a spot on there to where, because, maybe they want to get their tied or hide tanned, excuse me. But I think it was you and I were talking about it last year too. Got to be careful with that because of the certain glands on deer could change the color, correct?
Yeah. So in Wisconsin, you cannot shoot albino or white deer. So albino, there's definitions. I'm not going to read them off verbatim, but basically albino deers are the ones with the pink hooves and red eyes and stuff like that. A white deer is just going to be a deer that's, 95%, 99% predominantly white. A white deer is defined as like all white except for areas around like the antlers, the glands, and they don't have like the red eyes and such. So they're basically all white except for those spots where naturally whatever they're secreting or whatever they're rubbing against is going to turn their fur brown, but it doesn't make them a legal deer to shoot. So if you have a white deer on your property and you're thinking about harvesting it, you really want to take the time, whether it's your trail camera pictures or if it's in front of you when you're hunting, to get a good look at all sides of it and see, are there brown spots or, darker, I guess black spots. I doubt that. But are there different colored spots on the deer that makes it not a white deer? We generally go by, like, if there's a softball-sized brown spots somewhere on that deer, on the side, on the back, whatever, then that's not going to be a white deer. But if it's all white except for near the glands and the antlers, then yeah, you can't shoot that deer.
What's the fine?
It depends. It depends on the situation, but it could be anywhere from a couple $100 to a couple $1,000 and losing your hunting privileges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we see them every year, man. I think I sent you a video last year. It was during rifle season. There was one walking around me. So
yeah, there's definitely some big splotches of them here and there throughout the region, and I think they're not hunted, so I think their populations are growing, and culturally we protect them because they're cool to see and stuff like that. Maybe someday it'll change, but yeah, when in doubt, and that's what I tell everyone for not just deer hunting, but fishing, trapping, ATV and boating, whatever. When in doubt, or if you're like, I don't know, I think I could, but I couldn't. A lot of times there's more deer in the landscape. There's more fish in the rivers. Just like pass on that one and take a different one.
Really quick, Jake, we had a last-second text come in here. A gentleman's asking if there's any rules when it comes to electronic calling, as he says, electronic calling for like an old guy who is 65 and it's hard to carry in a rattle, probably those rattle bags or antlers and all that stuff that it takes. Is electric calling against the rules in Wisconsin?
It's illegal for waterfowl and turkey.
Okay.
So you can use it for most other species. So I would assume deer is what he's referencing. So yeah, you can use it for that. But yeah, turkey and waterfowl you're not allowed to. So yeah.
And obviously predators are a big one too, where you can use the electronic calls.
Predator. Most of the times you see that is, you're right, predator hunting, stuff like that is the most common.
Mm-hmm. What's the status of the elk hunt? I know we had the drawing. What, are they doing that? Have they done it? What's up?
Yeah, the elk hunt is, the season's officially open, but all the tags are filled. So
filled already?
The season, yeah, they were filled in the first couple days. So I don't know all the specifics up on the Clam Lake herd, but down in the Black River herd, I think 2 were shot on Saturday or Sunday, and then 2 were shot on Monday of that opening weekend. So they were, by Monday evening, the wildlife biologist had already sent out an email saying, season's over down here. Elk are legally harvested. They're nice ones. They're harvested. They're registered. They're good to go. I did read the Outdoor News. I think it was either last week or 2 weeks ago. Their paper, and they had at least 2 stories from the hunt down here. One of the 10-year-old and one of someone else that was hunting some private property. So if you're curious on just someone's quick little synopsis of their hunt, it's written up in an article in there. So a lot of good success, a lot of happy hunters, a lot of nice bulls that were harvested. So a good season, good first inaugural season for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Jake's actually going to be in studio next week as we get set for the deer gun season, so extended version of Jake. What was it that he was supposed to bring in for us? Was it duck, Bob, I think? Was it some duck that he got?
Coot.
That's what it was.
Yeah, I am going down. I'm going down to Mississippi next week, right before that. So maybe I'll shoot you up a couple coot and bring them in
there.
Before that.
I'll be gone next week.
Oh, well, I guess I get to have your portion. So,
eat the coot.
Jake, we appreciate it, buddy. As always, be safe out there, and looking forward to catching up with you next week, sir.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Appreciate you guys having me on, and good luck to everyone out hunting the rut and archery season right now. Absolutely.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, bud. There we go. Jake Bolks, Conservation Warden for the state of Wisconsin.